Hi guys, welcome back to the We Run on Coffee podcast with Marissa and Arika. And I'm really excited for this week because Arika's going to be talking to us about something that I don't know anything about, and it's going to be about buying a house. So
Woohoo!
I know a lot of people don't know much about the whole home buying process. So hopefully she's able to give a bunch of insight to all of us. And yeah, I'm excited.
I'm
But
so
first,
excited.
yeah, but first off, of course, we have to say what we're drinking, and then we can do our week
Yes.
recap.
Okay, so I've been hiding mine from you when we first got on the Zoom because I wanted to drink it, but I didn't want you to see how beautiful it looks.
I'm
What I'm
excited.
drinking looks like this, and it is,
Ooh.
I made like Starbucks refresher inspired drink at home. So it has hibiscus tea, lemonade, a liquid IV packet randomly because I just threw it in, and then just cut it with water, a little bit of ice, which it doesn't have ice right now, and I think that's it. And it's so freaking good.
That
We
is
got
so
some
awesome.
hibiscus tea from, do you know Grandpa's Cheese Barn in Ohio?
No.
Such an Ohio thing. It's only an Ohio thing, but there's a few of them in Ohio, and it's just a place that has like a bunch of cheese and meat and like that kind of stuff. A really cute, like locally made store. And they had their own custom blend of hibiscus tea. So we bought it just to do refreshers, and it's so fire.
Yeah,
So
it
I'm
sounds
drinking
really
that
yummy.
and water. What about you?
Yeah, I just have water. I
Yeah,
couldn't
same.
decide.
I know. I was only going to have water, but then I saw this in the fridge. I'm like, okay, I can spruce it up for the
Yeah,
episode.
perfect.
As we're recording this, y'all, it's a little bit later. So if you know, we usually record in the mornings and we have coffee because we run on coffee, but can't do caffeine at 7 p.m.
No,
It ain't
no.
right.
We can't.
No, not at all. Okay, so tell me about your week.
Okay, so right now it's Friday. So this week I
Yes.
started first shift and it's been going well. I haven't really been too tired. I mean, obviously you can tell my energy level is still up and it's 7:30 p.m. on a Friday.
Yes.
But it was a good transition. I have been able to get in bed earlier, fall asleep earlier, and wake up at 5 without really any problems, which is
Go
amazing.
off. That was my first thing I wrote down was to ask you about your new schedule.
Yeah, it works really well, and I've been enjoying it. And like I said last week, I think I've just been looking for like a change in my daily routine. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I've been kind of stagnant. I haven't really been doing anything. And I really took it by like the reins this week. Like I worked out every day, which I am like so excited. And
Wow.
on Tuesday, I went for a run for the first time in a long time,
I'm
and
shook.
I ended up running a 5K.
Go off. That's so awesome. Oh my
I
God, you're a
know.
runner. You can't
I
say you're
sup-
not anymore.
I know I surprised myself. I literally went out and I was like, it's really warm out. Like, I just want to be outside. I want to go on a run. I was like, I'm just going to run walk because it's not like that big of a deal. Like, I just wanted to be outside. And my first goal was to get to a mile.
Oh my
And then I was
gosh.
like, oh, I like don't feel that tired yet. Like, let me keep going. And then I was like, oh, I'll just like get to 2 miles. I get to 2 miles and I was like, well, let me just like finish this next loop because like the route that I run on
Yeah.
like out of my apartment, I was like, let me just finish this next loop. I get like halfway through the loop and I was like, I think I can keep going. And I was at
Oh my
like
gosh.
I was at like 2.5 miles. So I was like, let me just do a 5K.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah, I was so impressed by myself too. And I ran really slow, but that's okay. I'm already a slow runner
Yeah.
because I have really short legs and everything. But I was so like amazed. Like I was like, I
Oh
can
my
do
gosh.
this. But I genuinely think that being on first shift has given me a little bit more time in the day. I
Yeah.
used to think like, oh no, it's not. But like I can do stuff after work and I don't have to worry about like having to get to work and like feeling like my plans have to be cut off at a certain time.
Yeah.
Which is super nice. And then Wednesday I went and got dinner with some friends. We got dinner and ice cream and it was so cute.
Aw. I
And
saw
then
your
Thurs-
picture somewhere and it was so cute.
Yeah, it was so cute. I loved it. And we went to this like little Thai food restaurant and it was called My
Ooh.
Thai. And
That's
that was
cute.
it was such a cute name and the food was so good.
Yum.
I loved it.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. And then Thursday we went to volleyball and we didn't win again, but that's
Oh
okay.
no.
I'm still having fun. And then
I hope your
now-
volleyball team doesn't listen to our podcast and hear how
They
much we
do.
raved about the last one and how much we crap on this one.
That's okay. They know we
Step
haven't
it
been
up,
winning.
guys.
That's okay. And then today is Friday. So today I got off of work and I was like, I want to try a new workout class. And I actually signed up for a free class a while ago and they were like literally calling me once a day to like sign up
Oh
for my
my
free class. I know,
gosh.
it was crazy. So I never did, but I finally did. I was like, I can do it this Friday. So I went and I tried an Orange Theory class.
How'd you
and
like it?
It was good. I can't spend $100 a month on working out.
I didn't know that's how much it was.
It's $179 a month for
Whoa.
unlimited classes, and I cannot do that. That is way too much money.
They're supposed to be intense. Was it hard?
Yeah, it was pretty hard. They do like a run section, a row section, and like a body weight or weighted exercise section. And I surprised myself again in the run today.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Yeah, but that was really fun. And then I told Arika before we started recording that I had a rant.
I've been waiting for this.
So this is my rant, but I'm going to try and make sure it's not that long-winded. So basically since like November, my heating and air conditioning has been weird.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's been like, the best way to describe it is when I turn the heat on, it gets colder in here. Like when it's cold outside and I turn the heat on, it gets colder in my apartment. When I turn the air conditioning on, it gets hotter in my apartment. And I don't know how better to describe that because it's so weird. And I put in a maintenance request a couple of months ago, probably in like December. Like it was really cold like for a couple of days and I couldn't deal with just like being in the apartment.
Yeah.
And so I put in a maintenance request and they said, oh, like your maintenance request has been like fixed, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. I come home, turn on my heat, doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so mad already at this.
Yeah. So then yesterday it was 80 like degrees here. It was like 82 degrees here, super warm. And I open up the windows and it gets up to 77 in my apartment. And I'm like, okay, I'm sick and tired of like this not working. Let me put in another maintenance request. So I put one in last night. They get to my maintenance request today and it says, okay, we fulfilled your request.
They always do it when you're not home?
Yeah, usually.
Gotcha.
So I was like, okay, I saw that while I was at work. I came home and it said it was like 72 or 71 in my apartment. And I was like, that's not that bad. And I was like, let me set the thermostat a little bit lower because it still felt warm in here.
Yeah.
So I set it to like 68, 69. And then I go to the Orange Theory class and then I come back and it is 75 in my apartment.
Oh my
and the air
God.
conditioning has been on the entire time. So I literally...
Something's so broken.
I know. I came in, I peed, I walked out, was walking up to the leasing office, and of course they closed at 5 and it was like 5:45 when I got home. So then I called and I left a message with the management office and I was like, I don't know if I'm not describing the situation correctly or what, but can somebody please talk to me on the phone and get this figured out? Because when it gets to like June, it gets like hot and humid here. I am not dealing with that in like May, June time.
That's crazy. We had the same problem at our last apartment and they had a certain like rule. I went back to our lease. I literally pulled our lease out of the closet and read it. And there was like a rule in there that it said something like if your temperature can't get down or like your heat's not working and it's less than 45 degrees outside, then that's an emergency and you can call our emergency maintenance line. And we had to call that, but they fixed it immediately. But that like makes me mad. I'm like fired up for you.
Yeah, I'm just getting frustrated because like I can't tell if I'm not conveying the situation properly, and we can't call in maintenance requests. We have to put them in online.
That sucks.
Which is fine, but I thought, like, I literally read what I was saying out loud to Kyle, and Kyle used to work in maintenance, so he was like, yes, that sounds good, like, I would know what to fix.
Yeah.
And I was
also,
like, okay.
Even if they don't, they can't just come in and then not fix anything and leave. Like, even if you're not describing it, they should be testing for everything.
Yeah, I don't know. So I called
I
called the management office, so hopefully they'll call me back tomorrow, but if not, I'm just gonna, like, keep calling them like once a day. Or I'm going to go down there in person if I have time tomorrow. Yeah. I'll go down there and I'll just be like, hey, what's going on? So it is hot in my apartment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I hope you get it fixed before summer hits.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Cringe.
That was all for my week, but I do have an exciting like weekend plan, and usually we do this on Sundays, so like I get to recap my weekend to you. Yeah. But since we're recording before the weekend, I kind of want to tell you like a little bit of like what's going on. So tomorrow, I'm going into DC with some friends because it is the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC. It's going to be so pretty. Yeah, I've never been. I've never really like seen cherry blossoms, and there's some around my apartment complex, so I've been able to like see them around. Yeah. But I'm so excited to like go downtown. We have a brunch reservation, and I'm so excited.
So cute. That sounds really fun.
Yes, I'm so excited. But that is my week recap / my rant / what's coming up the next couple of days. Oh my gosh.
So eventful. Oh my God. Yeah. I have like nothing to share, so that works out for me because almost nothing happened this week except that I've just been so busy and at work. But I did want to say, if anyone listened to our last episode, our our self-care episode, Marissa recommended that I try the Tree Hut sugar scrub, and I bought one that day. Like, I swear, it was either that day or the next day. I went to Target. I'm like, I'm buying this. And I got a sugar scrub. It's called Tropic Glow. I don't know if you've had that one or smelled it.
No.
Smells so good. It smells like vacation in the best way, like a beach trip. Like, oh my God, it smells amazing. And now I'm obsessed with it. I've used it twice already.
Really?
I love it.
Did you try the washing your hair twice?
I didn't try that yet, but I do need to do that. I actually just washed my hair today, and to be honest, I forgot that was one of the tips.
That's
I
okay.
need to listen back.
Next time.
I know. I need to listen to it and actually write down all of our tips because we had some good ones in there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we did.
But also, you guys, if you listen to our last episode, we kind of recapped our Q1 goals and talked about if we completed them. So really quick, before we jump into Arika Hour, we're going to share our Q2 goals. So I'm going to tell you guys mine. I have a goal of every quarter to go on a trip. So I want to go on a Q2 trip. And the exciting thing is I have 3 trips planned in Q2. I can't even believe it. 1 to Cleveland for a family trip. 1 to Virginia to see Marissa. And DC because we're going to a concert, which is freaking so exciting.
Yay.
And 1 to Philly. So I'm definitely going to cross Q2 trip off my list. But that's still a goal. And then my other Q2 goals are kind of lofty. Buy a van. This one keeps getting carried over, but we're going to keep carrying it until we get one. Plan a Q4 trip because we don't have anything planned yet besides Marissa's wedding, of course. But it's also our anniversary in Q4 of the year. So I feel like we should do something fun. Like, it's going to be 6 years. So I'm like, I want to go to the beach or something. Like, let's go. And then I want to apply for and buy passports. That's one that carried over from last month. And the last one, you don't know yet, I don't think. And it goes with today's episode, but I think we're going to get a patio. And I'm so excited. It's such a random adult thing to get excited about, but I think we're going to get like a concrete patio and I'll be able to decorate it and plant vegetables. Yay! I'm freaking out. I'm in my housewife era.
Okay, so I know that we talked about writing down our goals and that was my Q2 goal.
Did you write it down?
No. I was literally messaging Arika before we were gonna like record and everything, and I was like, "Okay, can you tell me what Q2 is?" Because like, I know it means like Q1 and Q2 and whatever, but I was like, "What are the months?" So I can like actually write down my goals. And then I was eating dinner, and then all of a sudden we were ready to record, and I didn't write them down.
You have to make it your goal now for your Q2 goals to write down your Q3 goals.
I know. I'm going to write them down. It's not like when we're recording this, it's not Q2 yet. So I will write them down before Q2 starts.
Okay. I trust this.
So mine are to keep my daily routine, which I'm pretty sure was a Q1 goal as well. But I want to keep my daily routine and keep active and keep my like morning routine before going to work and my afternoon routine and everything the same. And then what else are we doing? Oh, I want to finalize a bunch of stuff for the wedding in Q2. Because in April, we're doing our wedding tasting, and that's going to really help solidify, like, the last final things. And the week after our wedding tasting, we're doing another details appointment.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah. So we'll be able to, like, finally, like, get a lot more things into place. Like, all of the unanswered questions, hopefully we'll have answered after the tasting.
Yeah.
So that's my second one. And then my third one is I'm going to New York, and I want to have, like, I don't have enough time in my life to have a Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 trip, but I am excited to go and travel with my friend.
That's gonna be awesome.
I think that in Q2, I just want to focus on like seeing my friends a lot and like spending time and prioritizing time with my friends rather than with myself because it's the last quarter of the year before Kyle moves in. Yeah. So I just want to be able to, I mean, it's not like he moves in and I'm not going to have friends anymore. Of course, I'm still going to hang out with all of you guys listening to me right now. But I just want to make sure that I'm prioritizing friends and those going out things that I enjoy doing on the weekend.
Oh, I love that. It's a good goal. And yeah, things just change when you move in with someone. It's not any way. It's just like things are different. So that's so cute. I love those goals. You always have really good goals, I have to say.
I really hope that I'm probably going to have a change in my goals once I do write them down because I'm going to like actually sit down and I'm going to brainstorm and I'm going to think. But when we go over how our Q2 goals went, I will tell you that I wrote them down, what they ended up being, and if I could accomplish them.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
When I write them down, I find that I make a lot more. Because I write it and then I'm like, oh, okay, like I could probably do that. And then I just write something else. So I wonder if that'll happen to you too. But I also make my goals sometimes like really small things like, whatever, like buy a passport. It's like, okay, that's fairly easy as long as you have the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Okay, well, I suppose we should dive in. We're 15 minutes in. Thank you guys if you're still here.
Yes.
Because we're going to get into the meat of this episode. I'm really excited. If you haven't been listening before, you might not know what Arika hour means or Marissa hour, and we use the verbiage a lot. But basically, it's just where one of us talks about something that we're really passionate about for an entire episode. So recently, Marissa had an episode where she talked about moving halfway across the country, how she did it, the dirty details, how much it cost. That was a good episode, I have to say.
Yeah, I think so.
It was so much fun. So I'm doing the same thing today, but I'm going to tell you guys how I bought a house at 23 years old with $0 down payment and how much everything actually costs. I pulled the numbers this morning. I have the timeline. Let's get into it. I'm freaking ready.
And if you don't hear me talking, it's just because I'm so dumbfounded by how smart this sounds, because I have no idea how to buy a house. So
well, it's such a daunting task. Just like you were saying at the beginning, a lot of people don't know about how it works. And that's exactly what I want to avoid. Like, I want people to know that it's, like, dare I say this, but it wasn't that hard. And I want people to know that, like, it's not that hard. It's cheaper than the apartment we used to have, and it's totally possible. So let's get into it.
Yes, let's
first
get
we're
into
going to
it.
start with the timeline. So back in 2019, I worked at a different job, and one of my coworkers had already bought a house. They were much older than me, so they just had a lot more life experience than me in general. And I was complaining to them that I was looking for a new apartment and I couldn't find what I wanted. And they were like, "Why didn't you buy a house?" And I was like, I'm literally in college. Like, I'm in college right now. And they were like, my house costs less than your apartment. I'm like, you're lying. And they showed me all this stuff, and they just got me thinking about it.
Yeah.
So that's what really planted the seed. That's back in 2019. And then I finally decided, like, the worst thing that happens is we meet with a realtor and they say you can't get a house, and fine. But, like, I guess I'll look into it. So I asked that person at my work, like, hey, would you mind if I emailed your realtor and just talk to them if you like them and if you trust them? And he was like, yeah, totally. I like them. I trust them. Here's their name. So boom, January of 2020. So right before the cove, crazy timing. We met with a realtor and we met with a lender. So a realtor who would help you buy a house, and then a lender who would give you the money to do so. And we didn't have enough credit. So that's where it all started. Ever since 2020 January, we've been like, we want to buy a house. We know we do. It's an investment we want to have, but we have to work on our credit to get there. Basically, we had enough money and we didn't have negative credit or bad credit scores, but we didn't have credit cards. We didn't own cars that had loans. Like, we weren't paying for anything. So there was no way to really tell. So, like I said, January of 2020. Then when you jump to April 9th of 2022, literally 2 years later, which is so crazy.
That is so crazy.
We decided to email again. And this is not because that's how long it took to build our credit. It's not because that's how long they made us wait. That is just when the timing worked out, because we were in leases and, you know, the whole thing. When you live in apartments, you stay for a year usually or whatever. So April 9th of 2022 is when we decided, like, I'm going to send an email to a broker. We're going to try again. And this time I had taken a recommendation from my coworker again at like my new boss at the time, and she told me about her realtor, and I was like, wow, she sounds really, really awesome. And she's like, look her up on Instagram. I'm like, your realtor's on Instagram? And she said yes. So I'll tell you right now, shout out at broker Nicole, Nicole. She is such a badass. She literally has her whole page is all about being a real estate broker. She does all kinds of videos. She's like a health queen. She grinds and works like a bajillion hours a week selling houses and just being a freaking badass. And she's so good at her job. So we sent our email to the broker and we were like, hey, we kind of really want to buy a house, but we don't know anything. And we know this person, she recommended us to you. And that's about it. Like, that is all we know. We had no information at all. And so that is what started everything. So I'm going to stop here because I wrote down questions I feel like people might have right now, which would be, how do you find a realtor or a broker?
Yeah,
So,
I was just thinking, like, first off, I didn't know you were thinking about it for this long.
Yes.
And I was like, second off, how do you find these people? What are these people
Yes.
like? What is their job, or like the thing that they add to the whole home buying experience?
Yes, it's a great question. And I literally wrote down both because those are the exact same questions I asked. So the first thing I want to clarify is that we used broker Nicole. She's a broker. That's different than a real estate agent. And so I Googled this before just to make sure I was really, really clear. But basically, a broker can do everything that a real estate agent can do And they could also work independently or own their own brokerage and manage other agents under them. So they kind of like are the umbrella.
So it's like more independent.
Yeah. And you get more like qualifications, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So Nicole's a broker and she owns her own brokerage and she like does this whole thing. And so also, how do you find them and what do they add to the experience? Having a realtor or broker is someone who's going to walk you through the process, because we didn't know anything. Like, we knew nothing. You can buy a home on your own, but if you don't know every single step, you're more likely to get taken advantage of if you don't have someone representing you. It's like having a lawyer. And what I will say here that I actually didn't write down and kind of forgot about, but you don't pay a realtor if you're buying a house. Wrap your minds around that, everybody. You do not pay a realtor. When you are the buyer, the seller pays for your realtor. So the person that we bought our house from paid for our realtor and his. And there may be cases where that doesn't happen, but as far as I've been told by people we've worked with, that is very common for it to be that way.
That is wild to me.
Yeah. So when if we were to sell our house, we would pay for the buyer's agent fees, but we didn't have to pay for it. So that's also another benefit of like, why wouldn't you use a realtor or a broker when you're buying?
Yeah.
So highly recommend. And then to answer the question of like, how did you find one? Recommendations from coworkers. That's how we did it. Do your research online. If you're looking at a listing like on Zillow, it usually says at the bottom, like, this person is selling the house. That's the realtor on that house. You can get in contact with them. Probably wouldn't recommend that straight up, but there's many ways. Just like you find a doctor, honestly. You just Google them, try to figure out, read their profiles, whatever, check if their license have ever been revoked, that kind of stuff. But so that's the situation. April 9th of 2022, we emailed our broker, Nicole. We're like, hey, can we be your client? Are you even taking clients? Whatever. And I was pretty nervous because she's kind of like an influencer on Instagram, really. And I was like,
that's so crazy.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if she's going to want us, but okay. So then moving right along, on April 19th of 2022, so 10 days after we emailed her, we actually met with her in person. So throughout that time we were communicating, but that day we went to her brokerage, we met with her in person, and we learned all the things about buying a house. So like what types of homes there are, what type of loans, types of offers, financing options, what our budget's going to be, etc. And then she let us know.
I feel like that's so helpful because like obviously you guys are young, and I feel like a lot of times like if you go and buy a house, they're not really willing to like educate you on the process. They're just like, here, these are my options, buy a house.
That's the scary thing about finding a broker or a lender that you, or a realtor that you trust, is if like they can rip you off. They can get you in a situation you don't want to be in. So a lot of it is also, I should have said, like gut feeling. The first person that we met that like denied us and was like, you guys can't buy a house, I tried to go back to her afterward and she ghosted me. And I was like really disappointed. I was like, how unprofessional. But in the long run, I'm like, thank God, because she didn't give us the feeling that Nicole gave us. Nicole never made us feel bad for what we were looking for. We had some like, Angela and I had some things that we were like, we're not going to negotiate on these things. And they were kind of a tight parameter, at least we thought. And she never made us feel bad. She was like, we're going to get you what you want. You're going to pay the right amount. We're not going to ask you to overpay. So like, you just also have to make sure you trust them, I guess. Yeah. Which is really important. But yeah, she taught us all of that. And then she let us know that the next step after just learning, getting educated, that's all we've done at this point. And she said the next step from here is to reach out to a lender and get pre-approved for an amount. Just see how much can we spend. And then we'll come back and talk about your guys' budget and what you feel like is comfortable. But just see how much you can get approved for at first. So that process is emailing another person, their bank lenders, and the same thing here is we just took a recommendation. Nicole has a lender that she works with for all her clients. Unless you have someone, you can go elsewhere, you're allowed. But she had someone in mind. So we're like, sure, we'll go with that person. We have no clue what we're doing. So then on April 28th, 9 days after that meeting, we had a call with the lender and we got our pre-approval amount. So this is actually pretty exciting because what we wanted and what we were hoping for and what we thought we could afford was like $100,000 to $175,000 house, somewhere in that range. And we got approved for $250,000. We were like, what?
That's crazy.
We were so absolutely shook.
Not that you need that much space, just the two of you, but like that's crazy to know that like you were like financially sound enough to like be able to afford that.
It was honestly like an ego boost. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, okay, we're okay. Like we were nervous about even getting approved for what we wanted, and then to literally over double it. cool.
That's
like
so
we were
crazy.
so happy. So we got approved for the $250,000. And then also the bank that the lender worked for and that we were going through potentially had a first-time home buyer program. So if you're buying a house and it's your first time, I would 1,000,000 out of 10 do your research. Like not only can you find stuff online, but a lot of local banks, like we went to a bank it's not Chase, it's not Huntington, it's not a big bank, it's like more of a local thing. And they have a first time home buyer program where if you choose them for your loan and you get approved, you can do $0 down, which is huge. That's no down payment. And then no PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. And that's something you have to have. Instead of us paying for it, the bank's paying for it because they want us to choose them to be first time home buyers. So all of that to say, we were saving a shit ton of money by choosing this place. So moving right along, that was April 28th. May 9th, we got set up on the MLS. And so this is a website, and I Googled this too, just so I can give everyone a real definition, just to make sure. But the MLS, it's called the Multiple Listing Service. And it's an organization that accumulates and disseminates information to enable appraisals for houses. That's what Google said. But to put it in layman's terms, if you ever go online and you're like looking at houses just for fun, you usually end up on like Zillow or HomeSnap or Realtor.com, those kind of websites. MLS is what comes before. MLS is where the realtor goes in and they're like, I have a house for sale at 1235 Lane. And once they put it in MLS, the MLS will send it to those websites. Okay. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So it's like the OG place where they put in the information and it starts from. And so when
you
get
to see all the listings before they're like all put on their own sites.
And you don't have to go separate places. Like they're all there. So when a realtor sets you up on MLS, they get your information, like what your budget's going to be, like how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what do you absolutely need? And then they draw like a little location on the map, like a little geo circle. And every time a listing comes up in that location that meets all the criteria, it sends an email to the buyer. And so
that
every
is
single
so
time,
nice.
Angela and I would get an email like new listing just added. Like literally it'd be like new listing 3 minutes ago. Here's what it is. And then we could immediately text her and say like, we need to go look at this place. Whatever.
Yeah. Then like that's really nice because it's
huge.
It's put out there and you see it immediately because you have those email notifications on.
Yes.
And you were already living with Angelo, so you could literally just like run to the next room and be like, Angelo, yes or no, are we touring?
And we could go that day because what happened with COVID, everybody knows, like it changed the market for cars, it changed the market for houses, whatever. But these houses are flying off the market. Like some people put an offer same day, and if it's really good, they'll freaking take it. So we had the like privilege of being able to at times just go to a place same day, next day, which is honestly literally insane. But it was really nice to have the option.
That's basically what happened with my parents' house when they were putting it on the market. Really? My neighbor's kids ended up buying it, so it was my neighbor's like daughter and her husband. But before, like, they had an open house and like a couple families came and visited, but the family wanted the house so bad because their like parents lived next door, so they put in an offer, and we had to like wait the like 6 days or whatever, which you'll probably get into whatever that information. But then they were like, okay, you get it.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that is just, it's been the craziest time with buying stuff because people are just throwing money at houses.
Because they need it. Like they need the houses and stuff. So they're like, I need it.
Yes. So the MLS, our realtor was our broker. I need to make sure I'm calling her the right thing. But every time something goes on the MLS, you get the email. And she was saying that because of how it works, things hit the MLS before they hit Realtor.com, before they hit Zillow. By the time I would send her a Zillow listing, she'd be like, this is gone. And it doesn't update the site yet because, it's not there. So that was like a huge step. So that was May 9th. Moving along. I have 4 notebook pages, guys. Brace yourselves. We're already through 2. But that was May 9th. And then May 14th, we put in our first offer. Okay, that's 5 days from when we got set up to when we put our first offer. That is very unheard of, I feel like, in normal times. And it just speaks to the COVID of it all because 5 days is insane. And I will say that like most of our home buying process and the way that things turned out, I believe have way more to do with luck than they have to do with anything else. Like we got super lucky. I had a friend who was looking at the same time as me and he was like, prepare yourself. Like you're going to get heartbroken. You're not going to get your dream house. Like just understand how crazy it is right now. And then our timeline went very fast. And I was like, sorry to tell you that this really worked out for us. So it was a matter of luck in a time like this.
I remember we were talking last like spring, summer as well. Yeah. And you were like, well, like we're putting in offers. Like we're not really like ready. Like you were like ready to say yes, but you were like, I don't really think it's going to happen. So we're just like going to kind of ride this wave. But then like I saw you like a week later and you're like, we have a house. And I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, it was literally so fast. So yeah, on May 14th, we put in our first offer, and this was, there's two things I wanted to mention with it. So we used an escalation clause, and I really want to talk about this because literally no one I've talked to has ever heard of this. People who've bought houses have been like, what is that? And I think it's a game changer. So our broker, like I said, she's a badass and she's really damn good at what she does. And she explained this escalation clause to us. So basically what happens is, say you and I were going to put an offer on the same house. You put an offer for $100,000. I put an offer for $100,000, but I have an escalation clause that says if you get any other offers that are the same as mine or a little bit more than mine up to a certain point, we'll put in an extra $5,000. So no matter what, as long as the other offers all fall within this range, we'll put an extra $5,000 on top of your highest offer and we'll take it. And I'm like, why do people not use this more?
Yeah, because so it's gonna make the home, like the seller want you, because they're like, oh, well, that's an extra $5,000.
Exactly. You have that competitive advantage financials wise. So unless you have, I mean, there's other reasons that sellers choose different buyers, but the finances have been huge in the COVID time. So we used an escalation clause on all of our offers that I'm going to talk about. And so I think that was definitely a game changer, because we had something, I actually didn't write this down because I couldn't find it, but we had something saying where up to $5,000, we'll pay this much more than your highest offer over and over and over until we hit the max. Once we hit the max, if there's a higher offer, they'll get it. So we used an escalation clause. And then we also, this is huge in COVID, Angela and I refused to waive our rights to do inspections. A lot of people were waiving their rights to do inspections during COVID, which means that they were buying the house and they weren't getting it inspected for pests. They weren't getting it inspected for radon, different gases, chemicals, or even the structure of it, like if things were going to be rotting or falling down, whatever. So a lot of people were refusing or were waiving those options so that they could
just get the house.
Yeah, they could entice the seller to sell it faster, and the sellers liked it because if there was a problem, you'd never know, like, hey, I have the house. So Angela and I were really adamant about the fact that we were not going to do that. We were going to do our inspections. We want to pay the extra money. We want to take the extra time. So that is also another reason why we were like, yeah, we're putting in offers, but I don't think we're going to get anything. Like we really thought no one was going to want us with wanting our inspections done.
Okay, so, I do have one question before we keep going. So at this point, you're putting in offers, but you said that you're not paying for the broker or anything because that's the home buyer's responsibility. So up until this point, have you even paid for anything yet?
Nothing.
That is wild.
Yeah.
All
you
the way
can
to
get
the point.
really far. And that's because,
so
I will say, that's because we had the pre-approval. So if we didn't get pre-approved for XYZ amount, or we didn't get pre-approved at all because we didn't have credit, it would have stopped there. And the realtor is like, no offense, not going to waste their time on you because you clearly don't have the money to spend. But because we got pre-approved, we're all the way up until I've gone from April through May, which I guess isn't that long, but so many steps. Yeah. And we have not paid a single dollar.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so May 14th was our first offer, and it was declined because we got outbid, like beyond our escalation clause, and whatever. So that's May 14th. And then June 3rd, so this is 3 weeks after our first offer, and at this time we were looking at new places, like probably every week, every few days, whatever. June 3rd, we put in our second offer, 3 weeks after our first one, and it was in the exact same like complex, same area, because we were like, we really like this area, it's really nice, and it also got denied. I think we got outbid. But the first one that we put our offer in, we were like reaching. It was out of our budget, and it was like really a blessing in disguise that we didn't get accepted because it would have been so expensive. And the second one we got denied needed even more renovations than what we did on this house. So I think both were like, it just wasn't right. Thank God they didn't accept our offers because it wasn't right. But then June 11th, so
that's
8 days
the
after,
day that I moved.
Is it really?
I moved in on June 12th, but that was like the day I was packing up.
I can't believe that we didn't even realize this sooner.
That's
because
so
in
funny.
this day I talked to no one because like we were busy from the second it happened. But 8 days after our second offer, we put in our third offer and we got our house.
Woo!
I can't even believe it. So we put in the offer on June 11th, and ironically on June 12th is when they called us to accept it.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. Who knew that we were like literally, I mean, I knew we were like, wow.
On
I'm
the
just
same
shook.
timeline, but
Yes,
like what?
but not that close. Damn. Yeah. So we put in the offer on June 11th, and on June 12th it was accepted, and that is extremely fast. Like you were saying, your parents waited the 6 days to whatever. We had some sort of number built in, like this many days is how long they're going to tell you, and usually they do wait until the very last second. But we must have had a great offer because literally the next day he's like, "We'll take it. We want them."
Yeah,
So
the
they
people
called
that
us.
ended up buying my parents' house, they had a really great offer.
Yeah.
But I think that they were just trying to work out with like one other bidder, and they were like,
Yeah.
okay, let's wait
That'll
them
do
out,
it.
see if they're gonna
Yep.
like give us any more money.
Yes,
and
that's
then-
exactly what it is. You basically
That's
like
crazy.
push them to the last second. So we were not expecting this. Nicole calls me in the morning, and if you watch my YouTube video, I meant to shout this out at the beginning. I have
That's
a YouTube
okay.
video that goes over all of this, but in video form, photos and stuff, whatever. So check it out if you want to. But the phone call is in the video because I was filming when she called, and I answered the phone, and I said, what did I say? I said, "Shut the fuck up." And she was like, "No, you guys really got the house." And I was like, "Shut up." And we were just screaming. And I remember she posted on her Instagram, and she's like, "Nobody has ever responded to you got the house by saying shut the fuck up." Erica's one of my favorite clients.
That's so
It was
funny.
so crazy.
I mean, that's the only thing you can say. That was only your
Yeah.
third offer. It only been like a month and a half,
One
2
day.
months at that
Yes.
point. And you'd put in the offer the next day. You just have to
We
be
were
so
shook.
exasperated.
It was honestly probably only a few hours after we put the offer because it was like the night before, and then it was literally right in the morning. I remember me and Angelo, if you watch the video, we look like shit because we just woke up, opened our eyes, and she's calling me. So
yeah, you wake up to her phone
crazy.
call and you're like, "What, Nicole? It's 7 a.m."
I'm like, what is so important that you cannot wait? Oh my God. Yeah. So June 11th, monumental day apparently, which we're coming up on a year in a couple months. So that's cool. But yeah, so June 11th, the offer was like actually put in. And then on the 12th, it was accepted. Like I said, we literally open our eyes and it's accepted. I'm like, whoa.
You're like,
So-
"We have a house. What to do
Yes.
now?"
We were honestly, it took a few months. It took almost 6 months for us to feel like we lived here, even after we lived here. It is, I can't describe it. It's so weird. But the June 12th date that it got actually accepted, we had some things we had to do. So like at this point, things happen very fast. I don't know if that's the case for everyone, but I think it probably is. So one day after we put in the offer, accepted, and we started the closing process, which usually takes 30 days. That would be typical. It can be like a couple days shorter, a couple days longer, but really like that's the most it should be, I'm pretty sure. But the things that happened at this point were once we had that offer accepted and all the documents were signed, which you just do like online these days, which is really nice. I will say most all documentation was online. But at this point, they had to collect the earnest money, which I'm going to explain what that is. We ordered our home inspection, ordered our pest inspection, and we had to decide on a home warranty to buy. All in this day. And Nicole had emailed us, and I went back and read the emails, and she was like, any of the stuff that you want, tell me like what inspections you do and don't want, which Angelo and I wanted everything. Anything we were going to do. And she scheduled it all for us. So there is another reason.
That is perfect.
Yeah, it's another reason to have a broker or a real estate agent. Like she took care of everything. All we had to do, honestly, was like pay. Like show up to look at the houses and pay the money. She wrote all of the offers, I should say. Like these offers, when you put an offer in on a house, it's like 20, 30, 40, 50 pages long. Like big documents that have a lot of clauses and a lot of addendums and a lot of rules and a lot of stipulations. And so sure, Angela and I would read them, and sometimes we'd have to be like, "Hey, Nicole, this one number is wrong, or you spelled our name wrong here." But like they do it all for you. You just got to make sure you've got your ducks in a row and you're like double checking. But otherwise, like they're taking care of everything. It is so worth it to have a free real estate agent or broker.
It is so crazy
have
that it's
to say
free.
that.
And
It's
she
free the
does
whole time.
all the work for you.
Yes, it's a win-win. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, it's crazy. So on June 13th, okay, one day from accepting the offer, we booked and paid for our pest inspection. And how that works is you pay online and they go do it. You don't have to show up. They go to the house and do it themselves. And then June 15th, 2 days after the exception, they did the radon test themselves. Like, they came here and did a radon test while the other guy still lived here. It was totally fine. And they just emailed us and were like, hey, we got your report. Pay to unlock your report. We paid, and no bad radon levels. All good.
Perfect.
So that was good news. June 28th, so 16 days from getting our offer accepted, this is when we got our appraisal back. So you have to order an appraisal, and what this means really, really basically is that someone will come to your house and look at it and tell you how much it's worth based on a lot of criteria. Like, it's way more complicated than that, but I don't even know how to get into it. But someone who's an appraiser, and like that's their full-time job and they have an education in it, they come to the house and tell you how much it's worth. And so what you want them to tell you is that it's worth more than what you paid. That's a good investment. If they tell you that it's worth less than what you paid, you've already paid at that point. And, well, not technically, but whatever, for our purposes, if they tell you it's worth less, then, and you continue to go through with the purchase and buy it, that's considered buying a home underwater. So if you pay $100,000 for the house and they come in and they're like, this house is only worth $95,000, then you bought a house that was $5,000 underwater. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. So Angelo and I, at this point, we didn't know what we were going to get. We were really just praying, like, please let it be a good investment. We are not really willing to buy something underwater. We had to, like, think about, if it is underwater, are we going to go through with it or not? Depends on how much money, whatever, because that's just money wasted, honestly.
Yeah.
So, and of course you have to put money into a home to increase its value. So it's really money wasted. So we got our appraisal and it came back and it was appraised for more than what we bought it for, which is a good deal, to say the least. I like to say we got a good deal on this house, and I'm not going to tell you guys the number yet, but I will at the end.
I know. I was like, so you keep skipping around the numbers, but I know you said you're going to tell us how much everything costs. So I'm like, how much are these inspections? How much is the house? What is all of this stuff?
I know. It's so crazy, but we're almost to the end. Okay, so July 5th, so this is 3 weeks after our offer was accepted. The title was clear and we were ready to go to actually close on the house and like finalize everything. So then 4 weeks from the offer being accepted on July 11th, we paid the closing costs, which we'll get to. And then on the 14th, we closed and actually got possession of our freaking house.
So you got the keys that day, right?
No. So on August 14th, so this is now 1 month after we closed, that's when we had our tenant, I'm doing air quotes, move out and we actually got the keys. So what happened was our offer got accepted likely because, so I was worried, right? Because we wanted to do our inspections and we were worried they wouldn't choose our offer. But it turns out that the person who was selling this house actually wanted to stay in it at least until August of that year because they had other plans lined up. And so I think that the reason they were willing to give us that 30-day closing and they didn't even really care is because they wanted to stay for an extra month anyway. So they're like, we'll accept your offer if you let us stay until this date. So we got the house on June 14th and they moved out on August 14th. Okay. So for that month, I guess they were like our tenant basically. So they paid for the mortgage that month and they paid for all the fees. And then we just came in and moved in. After.
Okay. Perfect.
So yeah, that was cool. And then August 14th, like I said, that's when we got the keys and we began renovations, which we'll talk about how much that cost. And then on August 28th, 2 weeks after that, we moved in.
Okay.
Crazy.
Perfect.
So going back, we put in our offer on June 11th and we closed on, July 14th. Only 1 month.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the whole process just went really fast. Like I said, we started in April and we ended in literally July is when we closed. So that's a really close timeline.
Yeah, that's awesome though.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you guys the dirty details.
I'm ready.
This is the final step of the episode. I'm really excited. We're going to get down and dirty, so I hope y'all are still here.
Okay, so, I have one question before you get started.
Please.
When you were looking for houses, did you want something that you had to renovate, or were you wanting something that was completely done? Because I know you did do some.
Yeah. We were open to both ideas. I would have loved to have something move-in ready, but I also knew that, to be honest, my taste was like a little too high for finding something that was move-in ready. Like I was being a little too picky to be able to find something. And like the style I was looking for was out of our price range. So I had a feeling we'd at least be painting, which I wouldn't call that like a full renovation. But when we found this house, which I should say, the third house that we actually put an offer in and that we got is in the same complex as the first two. All three offers were all in the same place because we just really gravitated towards the area we're in. We really love it. And so The first one we looked at, we had a really good variety. The first house we looked at that was too expensive for us was so immaculately done. That's why we decided to look at it. It had extra parking spots, an extra large garage. It had grass area. It had a deck, and it was beautiful, but just out of our price range. And then the second one that we saw here in the same complex was like torn to shreds, like kind of trash, like disgusting. And it just needed like a kitchen renovation, which would have been so much work, probably a bathroom renovation, new windows, like really, really big lifts. So we did put an offer in on it. Shockingly, I'm so glad it fell through, but that would have been so much work. And so I think by the time we saw this one, we were like, okay, replace the floors and paint the walls. I think we can handle it.
Yeah.
And so we just decided to go for it. So to answer your question, like we were open to both opportunities, but we had a feeling a renovation was going to be what we had to do financially.
I feel like everybody wants move-in ready. It sounds so nice. Like you don't have to remodel. You don't have to change anything, but at the end of the day, it's going to be your house and you're going to want to make it yours. So even like just painting the walls, like everybody wants to paint the walls when they move in because either they're dingy or they just don't like the color. And like the floors, you can put your own like personal touch on stuff like that. And I think that's what really makes the house yours.
It does, and it looks so different, and it doesn't feel like I live in someone else's house. Like when we first got here, I'm like, this is the person who moves out house. He was a young bachelor guy, and it looked like it was a young bachelor guy, and I was like, it's just doesn't feel like ours. So by the time we finished renovations, I was like, wow, this is really starting to feel like it's our house, and we like built it from nothing. Like it feels ours, which is
that's
huge.
awesome though.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into money, baby.
Yeah.
So we purchased a house for about $173,000 to make it even. And what it was appraised at was $178,000.
Yay.
So that was really exciting. So it was like worth $5,000 more than what we paid, basically. And we already have, and we plan to put a lot more money into it. So fingers crossed that the value will only go up from here.
Yeah.
But yeah, about $173,000 is how much we paid as the purchase price. And then our house is about 800 square feet above grade, which above grade just means any part of your house that's above the ground level.
Okay, so your basement is not included.
No.
Okay.
No. So the basement's not included in that. And if you did, then it would be like another 400 square feet-ish.
Yeah.
So that is that. I will say that our monthly mortgage, so $173,000 might mean nothing to people listening because it meant nothing to me. I was like, I don't know how much money that is. That just sounds like a lot. But our mortgage payment is about $1,000 a month. And we pay for a homeowners association fee, which if you have ever bought a house, you might have heard of this, or if not, I will tell you that a lot of houses have it. And it's basically a fee that pays for external upkeep of your house. I'm saying that very generally because it could include other things. But for example, if you live in just a regular neighborhood, so I'll say, for example, like Angelo's parents, I don't know if you know where they live, or even Kyle's parents, any of our family's parents, they live in like regular kind of houses, right? It's not a condo or it's not whatever. It's just a regular house. Those usually have an HOA fee, and there's some sort of association that you have to report to. And that association says, you pay us this much and we'll take care of your trash. We'll take care of your recycling.
Perfect.
We'll mow the lawn on the part by the road, or we'll do the landscaping in the summer, or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that they could do, and you just pay a small fee for it. They also control what the outside of your house looks like. So they could say your house can only be this color, this color, this color, or this color, or your outdoor shutters can only look like this.
Yeah.
So it really depends on where you are, but our fee is extremely high. So for instance, I was talking to Connor and Sarah in the summer, and they were talking about their condo or their homeowner association, whatever. And I'm not going to say how much because that's obviously their information, but it was less than one payment of ours per month for their whole year. Yeah, they were paying less than we pay per month for their whole year of fees. So just to put that into perspective, so ours is very, very high, just so we're all aware. And our HOA fee is about $250 a month. But I will tell you what this includes. This includes the pool, a full gym, a clubhouse, like a hangout area, whatever. It includes the water to our house, the sewage to our house, trash, recycling, snow removal, lawn care, landscaping, and then I wrote etc. because I'm sure there's something I'm not thinking of. So it does have a really big list though, which made us feel a little bit more justified. And also I really, really, really valued having a pool.
Yeah.
But we obviously, like, getting a house with a pool right outside, like a real nice, like, luxury style, like I would want, was out of our price range. So we had to find a community that had a community pool. And so we decided we were willing to pay like a little extra for something like this. But I will say that's outrageous. Like $250 a month is absolutely outrageous. So all that to say, our monthly payment's about $1,250, and that's paying for our mortgage with interest and our HOA fee. So $1,200 a month for rent for this size house, I would say is pretty reasonable, especially, I mean, we live in Ohio, so low cost of living. I know where you live is so much more expensive.
So
it makes
sad.
me die. Like, it's so sad. So yeah, that's the details on that. And now I have more details for you guys. Whew,
I love it.
Take a breath. So there's something called earnest money that I talked about earlier, and I want to explain it really quick. And the best way that I can explain this to someone who's never heard of an earnest deposit, it's just money that you put down to allow the seller to trust you. So when we came into our offer, we wrote down our offer, we wrote in our escalation clause, and we also wrote a check, and we did $2,500. You can pick any amount you want. You could literally do $5. You could do 10,000, and you write a check and you give it to your broker, and I don't know what she does. She takes care of it. That's all I know about Nicole. She takes care of it. But I gave Nicole $2,500. And so she took that check. She held it in escrow or something like that. And it was in the offer saying, like, this money is being held somewhere between the broker from the buyer and the agent from the seller. And if the offer goes through, it will be applied to closing costs. So you don't lose it. And if the offer does not go through, the buyer gets it back. It's never lost. So it's just to make them trust you. I'm pretty sure you can choose to not do it. We chose to do $2,500 because it was reasonable for us at the time, and we felt like it was relatively competitive. We wanted it to be more than our counter offers, and Nicole felt like she agreed with us for what we could afford to do.
And at the end of the day, that's like 2 months of your mortgage. So it's not really like,
that's a good point.
It's like a security deposit.
It is.
I've only
it's
lived
exactly like that.
I've only ever lived in apartments, and usually you pay first and last month's rent or some other made up cost that they say is your security deposit. But instead of it being in case you damage anything in the home, it's that you don't damage the relationship between the seller and buyer.
Yes, and the best thing about earnest money is that it's exactly like that, except there's no chance of anyone taking it. It's all yours, and you for sure get it back.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's
if
beautiful.
only that's
like
how it worked.
Dude, I know, right? That's what I'm saying. So like I said, that is applied towards your closing costs. So at the beginning, I told you guys I had $0 down. We never paid a down payment. So just because we never paid a down payment doesn't mean we didn't pay anything. So that's also something that I think is like confusing about buying a house, and something that you hear $0 down. You're like, a house for free? Not exactly. So that's also why I want to explain this too. So we paid our earnest money of $2,500, and that was applied to our closing costs. We're going to talk about what closing costs include. So, and for the record, I don't know them all. But we ordered our appraisal, like I said, so that's where someone comes in and tells you how much your house is worth. Paying the appraiser was $525.
Okay, not too bad.
Not too bad. I actually don't know. I was going to say, like, I don't know. I don't have anything to compare this to. So, like, as you're listening, you can judge us if you want. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Our radon test, to test for radon in the home, was $79. Our pest inspection was $70. And then our actual inspection of our home, so, like, checking the walls, checking the foundation. I wish I had Angelo on right now. That would have been really smart of me, but he came and did the inspection with the inspector. I was working at the time, so I didn't come. But he actually came to the house and did everything with him. And he said it took hours. This inspector, he turned on the stove, he turned on the gas fireplace, he would crawl in the crawl space. He's tapping on things, hitting on things, checking the appliances, like every little detail. And this is more expensive than most people pay, I will say. We decided to, again, make one of the decisions to go with something that we felt like was safer. And we chose a structural engineer to do our inspection instead of an inspector. So they have the regular experience of an inspector, but also our structural engineer. And they came and did that, and it cost $375. So that is those kind of costs. And then in closing costs, which, like I said, I'm not, like, I don't even know what all goes into this. I have it written somewhere, but I did not pull it out because it's a very technical, boring state things. But it's like taxes, it's homeowners insurance, it's like a bunch of random crap that you have to buy a house. Those cost $1,500. So in total, our closing costs that we actually had to pay, me and Angela, was $5,000.
Okay.
So that's, like I said, no down payment. So if we had a down payment of like $10K, then it would be $15,000. That's just closing. So then, switching gears one last time, this is the last bundle of things, is we did renovations, like I mentioned. So we painted our whole house and we floored our whole house. And I could do literally another whole hour episode on all the stuff we did because it was crazy. But we had never done something like that before, so we had to buy tools, we had to buy supplies, we had to spend hours researching. Like, a lot more went into it than just buying a can of paint and throwing it on the wall. So this was a little bit pricey, but to paint our whole house, quick interjection. Angelo, I should mention, is an engineer, and he did this very cute thing. He built our house as a 3D model on his computer exactly to scale.
Yeah, I think I remember you talking about this.
No, it was amazing, honestly, because he built it exactly to scale, and he could literally just click on the floor of the house and it would tell him the exact square footage of the floor. Why this was important is because if you buy a house that's 800 square feet ish, like we did, it doesn't just mean 400 on the bottom and 400 on the top, because there's walls, there's a sink, there's a counter, and that's taking off from the amount that you actually have to put flooring into. So he got us so spot on with the amount of like products we needed to buy. If he didn't do that model, we would have bought way too much paint, way too much floor. We would have like wasted money. So to paint the whole house, $500.
Not bad.
To do the flooring for the whole house, $1,100. So that's about $1,600. So if you combine the $1,600 with the $5,000 in closing costs, appraisals, inspections, blah, 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 all the stuff that you can either choose to do or not, and then closing, whatever, it came to a grand total from buying our house, $6,700. And keep in mind, that's $3,300 for me and $3,300 for Angelo. We split everything 50-50. So that is how much it really cost us to buy a house at age 23 with $0 down, $6,700 total.
That is crazy. Yeah. And you pay less money a month for your house than I pay for my rent.
Yes, and our monthly payment is less, so we're literally saving money from living in some of the apartments that we would have lived in, especially ones of this size. Like, we have a nice, like, 3-floor home. Like, we have a nice amount of space, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen their house, guys. It is beautiful, and it is perfect.
Yes, and so we now might add a patio. I'll interject this because I said that in the intro. Yeah. We're expecting the patio to be around $2,000 or less, and I mean, it's definitely a value add, but I don't know how much value it adds. I would love if anyone has some insight on that. Definitely let us know on Instagram.
My parents actually added a patio.
Did they?
And then sold the house, so they could probably tell you.
Wow, yeah, that would be really cool. Ours is going to be obviously super small because our yard's small, but I think we're just going to do like a little concrete patio, really simple, and just decorate it cute and have some plants. But it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be so cute. So, not to take the spotlight off of you, but please. I'm just going to kind of try and like relate it back to like my life and stuff. So like, obviously I've never done that, but like we were talking about in the last couple of episodes and stuff, like I am looking for apartments and stuff, and I love being transparent with money just as much as Arika does.
100%. You
have to, because like if you don't know like how much that costs for Arika and Angelo at 23, you're never gonna know what to expect. So I'm looking for apartments right now, and of course I live in a completely different area. I'm in one of the highest cost of living areas in the United States. So currently I live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in, I would say, a smaller population area than the other areas that I've been looking in. And the rent for this apartment is like $23.50 a month. Oh my gosh. But of course that's split in two. So I pay about $11.50 a month for my apartment now. And when I told Arika that, she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's like a little bit." When I told her just my rent, not even utilities or anything, was more than her mortgage payment, she was like, "That is wild."
Yes. But to be fair, I live in rural Ohio. I mean, I live in the city, but all of Ohio's rural. Like, it's just a difference of where you live too.
Yeah, and now I'm looking for apartments, like 1-bedroom apartments for me and Kyle when he's going to move in. And the one that we applied to, that one is a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom with a loft area. And it's about 860 square feet. So pretty comparable.
Comparable for sure, yeah.
Yeah, but you have an office instead of a loft. Like, it's it's pretty comparable in size. And it is $19.70 a month.
That is at least a little closer to our mortgage.
Yeah.
A little, but still.
Yeah, but of course, like, that's going to be split in two, of course, when Kyle moves in and everything. Huge. So we'll end up paying about $780 a month per person. And you guys, it's still a little bit more, but closer.
Up there, but it could be worse. Yeah, it's like right there, right on the edge.
But it's just wild. Crap. And I know that we were talking a couple of weeks ago in one of our other episodes talking about, like, the difference in my Marissa hour, talking about the difference in cost of livings. So I know a bunch of people, our two highest areas of listeners are Ohio and Virginia, of course, because that's where we know the most people. Shout
out.
Yeah, but I just think it's so interesting to, like, kind of share. Like, I, of course, don't have the home buying experience, but I have the apartment hunt and everything. Sure. So sharing those numbers and everything is pretty helpful just to see the disparity between the two.
Yeah, and definitely, and definitely, if you're listening to this episode and you all are enjoying what we're sharing, please let us know, because we've said time and time again, I feel like, that we want to do a finances podcast, and I don't know how we would theme that, but for sure I would love to do an episode. I will tell you how much money I make. I will tell you anything I'm allowed to legally tell you, because I think it's important to share these things too, just because I have so many friends where I'm like, oh yeah, we bought a house, and they're like, I've always wanted to buy a house. I didn't know that it could be so easy, or I didn't know it could cost XYZ. So I think it's important to share the things, because you can do what you set your mind to.
Yeah, of
so
course.
Emo, but it's true.
You can always ask, like, parents or, like, your significant other's parents and stuff, but most likely the last time they bought a house is like probably 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And
100%.
Of course the market has changed, and especially with the pandemic and just those, like, the younger people being in the housing market now, like, things change. So it's
That's a good point.
It's really, like, nice to have that fresh perspective from somebody that is your age and did go through it recently.
So DM us. That's what we're trying to say. If you need
or
to ask us a question, DM us, email us, and we'll get back to you, because we are so excited that you all are listening. And also, I have to say really fast, if you're listening to this and you live in the Netherlands, we freaking love you. What?
I think it's only one listener. We can only see percentages. We can't see, like, how many, but it says less than 1% in the Netherlands. It's
gotta be one.
So there's one of you out there, and I want to know who you are. DM us, please.
Let us know. Yeah, send us a DM. If you don't mind sharing your identity, you can comment on something, or post you on our story, like, whatever, tag us. But yeah, if you're from the Netherlands, if you're from Mexico, and if you're from the US, we love you. Thank you.
So yeah, going off of that, we also have a less than 1% from Mexico. So please tell us who you are. We want to connect with all of you.
Yes, that would be amazing. We would love to follow you guys and see when you're listening to We Run on Coffee. How cool.
It's so cool.
It. Well, thanks for listening to me, you guys. Thanks, Marissa, for your engaging questions, because I don't know. I love talking about this stuff, and I also love that you're renting and we're buying, because it's a perfect juxtaposition to share with our followers. Like, I don't know if you do this, but, like, a lot of times I try to compare myself to literally everyone else on the planet my age, or even not my age, and I'm like, oh my god, we're not in the same place, whatever. Like, for instance, you guys are getting married. I'm like, I want to get married,
but you bought a house.
Yeah, but then I bought a house, and, like, so we're doing something completely different. So I think it's also important too that we share our perspectives all the time, because everyone's somewhere different, guys. It's not a race, and it's not anything, and I just want to, like, let more people who want to buy houses buy a house. I just want to help you. So thanks, everyone, for listening, and I hope you enjoyed hearing us talk for an hour. This is a long one, but I think it was a good one.
It was a good one. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I'm definitely going to pull this up when I get to the point in my life where I'm going to be able to buy a house.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Well, thank you guys for listening, and with that, definitely follow us on Instagram. Like we mentioned, it's at We Run on Coffee. And you can also send us an email if you would like to at werunoncoffeepodcast@gmail.com. Also give us 5 stars, please. We're begging. 5-star reviews.
And comment on our Instagram. Engage with us. Do all of the things.
Yes, tag us in your story if you're, like, listening on your commute, or you're listening at school, or you're listening at work, wherever. Just screenshot on your little phone. Tag us in your stories. We will repost you. We'd love to see that. Yeah. And definitely listen to us anywhere you find your podcast. So wherever you're listening now, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Public Radio, CastBox, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places that you can find us. Leave a 5-star review and let us know what you want to hear in the future. And with all of that, I'm Arika.
And I'm Marissa. And we run on coffee.